right in my ear. Ouch. Okay, how you doing, everybody? Welcome to Tuesday. This is it. Finally, and I say finally, this has got to be the most preparation I've done. I keep thinking in each progressive lesson that I've actually spent more time than previous ones. This one for sure. First of all, splitting this product into two. You can see both of them right here. Splitting it into two was the first step. There's lots here. I better make it into two products. And then realizing the second product is even bigger than the first one. So there was a lot of testing right up until a few minutes ago when the new version of this came out. Today I was talking with Tog about this product, and he was going through some of the things that were new, some of the things that were fixed, and all the update stuff, and we did some test flights, and wow, what a product, you guys. The most in-depth I've ever seen so far. So we're going to have some fun with that. But wait, there's more. So next week we'll be covering the other modes. I thought I could fit those in tonight. Career mode, Mission Hub, and what's the other? Dispatcher Pro and Say Intentions SkyOps. All of those, like those four things, I'm going to focus on those for a whole Tuesday. Just do that next week with this helicopter. Today we'll show you some of those features, but we'll certainly get it going and doing more of the advanced stuff that this one can do that the other version couldn't. So for those who haven't caught up, last week was the AS-365 N2. We went through all the basics for that, and that pertains to both helicopters. Now tonight we're going through this one, the HH-65A and B, and seeing what's different there, because there's a lot more in there. There's a 4-axis autopilot instead of the 3-axis. That's the big difference already. And because of that, it can do a lot more functionality. And Tog has updated the helicopter so that we can now manage more of the rescue part of it. He's actually brought in some of that mission hub, some of that Miltech mission hub into the helicopter so that we can actually do those rescues. Good example of that I'll show you when we get to the main screen. I just took a screenshot of a rescue that I tried before we started the stream just to see what that looks like. So, hey everybody, glad that you're here. Tell all your friends, this is a good one. I'm probably going to turn this, not this first intro part, but once we get going into the lesson, I'm probably going to turn that also into a YouTube. I can't believe the first one, it was released, I guess the Thursday night after our stream. I put it all together and sent it out the door, the Tuesday lesson. And by Sunday, it already accumulated something like 9,000 views. And so I was just telling Charlie before the stream started, I still don't know the secret to why some of my YouTube videos would reach such staggering numbers and some of them still don't even reach 1,000. So maybe if you guys can give me a hint, send me a DM and go, here's why that one went so viral. Here's why this one didn't, right? So
Howard,
who knows?
I'm looking right now.
At
the AS-365 has beat, in 5 days, has beat the P-180.
Oh, really? Because the 180 was doing well. the Piaggio was doing well.
The helicopter is at 26.2 thousand subscribers.
Holy smokeroos.
Wow.
Really?
And the Piaggio...
That was around 13 for the Piaggio, right? That's a lot of views. I don't know what's going on there.
Oh, sorry. I was reading the wrong word. It's 16,317 views for the helicopter.
Yeah, I just need to round it out when I don't need the exact number. I just want to get an idea whether it's useful, whether it's good to do these things, you know?
The Piaggio is...
Appreciate you guys coming in and watching it live. And
15 and a half.
15 and a half for the Piaggio, so I beat the Piaggio number. I'm not out to beat anything. I have no idea how this works. You guys, I'm just told that, hey, that one should be on YouTube so we can see it more and more. And one of the reasons I started converting some of them, select ones, over to YouTube is because, as you guys know, on Twitch, the VODs don't stick around like they used to. So I tell people, go back, there's a VOD on that a couple weeks ago, a month ago, and they go, no, it's not there anymore. And all that work is gone. So I turned some of them into, this one was brutal for timeline. Every day was some time toward this. Now, I can't say that's brutal, you guys. When you take a look at the developers, and today I had a conversation, I had a meeting that lasted longer than we both expected with the developer of this aircraft, TaogsHangar. And we were in that meeting longer than we expected, and he was showing me things in there. So let me just give you a hint about this product, you guys. This is one of the reasons why it took me so long to even make the lesson. This product has been in the making for 3 years. I know most
Wow.
of these good products have been in production for a year, but he has actually said in the last year and a half have been nose to the wheel, and in the very last year has been 12-hour days, 7 days a week. This is a developer's life. I know this. I used to teach programming, and I was day and night without any social life back then when I was teaching at college level. So I know that developers just work day and night. They don't even see the outside. So this product, just so you can appreciate it, 3 years in the making. Now that would be when they first start out. They've got other projects going, so it's on and off with different members. They've been working on it and reforming it. But in the last year and a half, dedicated, and then the very last year, 12-hour days, 7 days a week, to get this product out the door. And so think about that, and then I turn around and say, this has taken me 2 weeks to get to what I'm going to present to you tonight. 2 weeks of a lot of extra work I didn't expect. And I can't complain. It's only 2 weeks, you guys. These guys spent 3 years. So keep that in mind when you get a product like this, and when you spend money on a product like this. It's like, holy moly. And if you're a developer, and if this is your first project, then you're living on no income until this thing's released. Think about that. Now, once these developers get going, Togs has already got a good reputation for being a quality developer for products we've already been buying from them. So there's got to be some revenue residue from those projects. So they are getting some revenue while they're working on their new ones. So once a developer gets going and establishes themselves, certainly that's not as drastic as their first project that they have to keep their full-time job, right? So, that's a very interesting insight, and I really appreciate that Tog spent the time today to have to help me out to the questions I had and questions you guys had since the last video, since the last lesson. And so those have all been solved. He's listened to beta testers. He's listened to hundreds of other people. It's not just me, you guys. I was just one of many. But he responded to that, him and his team, and they put this update out and pushed it out today. And it now had arrived around 3 o'clock, and now it's 5. So about 2 hours ago, it finally got released. And so this is the new release that I'll be showing you tonight. So that's really cool. Thanks for following there, Lazy Dot. Lazy Dot. Welcome to the stream. You'll find it to be friendly. You'll find it to be family friendly. And you'll also, just to remind everybody, no profanity, no politics, no religion references. And that just keeps it fun for everybody. That's what we're here for. It's our hobby, right? We're all enthusiasts in one way or another, and we love what we're doing here. All right, so let's continue, you guys, with this one right here. And this is a whole lesson that I had to still pare down a bunch of stuff just to fit it in today, because it's going to be mostly demo of the new features, not necessarily new features, but extra features you get with the HH-65. That's what we've got here. So let's get going over to the classroom and say hi to the rest of the hosts. Start out by saying hi to Andrew. He was already commenting, so he's there. His face is showing. How's it going, Andrew?
Not bad. Good evening, everybody.
Here's a good
Camera's
picture.
on, so
Here's a picture right here, you guys, of the rescue I was doing earlier, just to see how it works now with the hover. The hover is a lot more stable. I could get right close to the water, and he's added in this stuff here. Look at this. This almost looks like a photograph. If it wasn't for my input viewer, right?
I was going to say, is this real or?
It really looks real, doesn't it? That's how good this is, you guys. I can't believe it. And this is animated too. That person goes down and picks up the survivor and brings them back up. I'm going to show that today. It looks great. At one point when I was testing this last week and it was drifting too much, I want to mention one thing before we get into the details here, you guys. This is a deep dive lesson, meaning it's deeper than most lessons. It's not shallow. It's not just started up and, hey, look at flies. This is very important to understand more about it. This helicopter was designed in, 30 years ago, right? So back 30 years ago, just like in real life, back 30 years ago, they did not have GPS. So when we go and do hovers like this and rescues like this, there still will be some drifting. And this is something that was really important that Tog was pointing out when I asked him about this. He said, without GPS, back in those days, they didn't have GPS. without GPS, these things can't be as rock solid as, say, the H-145. The H-145, you can nail it on the spot and it stays there using GPS to make sure it stays there. Here it had to use other methods to make sure it stays there. And so there is some drifting. So you still have to pay attention as the pilot when you're hovering to do a rescue. It might the nose might start turning to the left, so you got to do some pedal. You might drift a little more to the left. And when you got a line dangling off the helicopter, they can't be having the helicopter drifting. All right, so it already does, some of the modes we're going to look at already does take into account drifting from wind correction, so it does wind correction for us. But they intentionally made it as authentic as the real thing. So I want to say that, first of all. Second of all, they had real dolphin testers, real pilots who fly these things in real life come and test. And it was rare for them to find not only pilots who fly these, but pilots who also do the sim. Not all pilots do sim because they got the real thing, of course. If you and I were flying the real thing right now, would we really fly the sim a lot? If we could have access to this sort of thing on a regular basis or at work. So it was rare for them to find, TaogsHangar had to find not only pilots in real life who know how these are supposed to operate, but pilots who don't mind going to the sim and have a sim set up to go test. So that's who do all the testing, and they're very fortunate to have that combination because it's a rare combination. This poor guy in the basket was having a bad day, so we went to the rescue. Interestingly, the nose opens up on this thing too, and you can see all the radar stuff in the front. That's the long nose version, the B version, right? So we're going to go take a look at this in greater detail. Let's do that. All right, so the QR code is there, you guys. If you do want to get this presentation, it's heavy. I think, Charlie, I think it's over 60 pages just in my presentation. Their manual, I forget now. I think you said last Tuesday, I think you said it was
117 pages.
117 pages just for the TaogsHangar manual for this helicopter. I'm not here to repeat everything that's in the manual, but I have extracted specific parts and showing them like screenshots right out of the manual with his permission to show you those specific parts instead of just retyping the same thing again. So that part certainly is easier, but I had to figure out which parts we should really extract so that we can do this. So that's what we want to look at. Next week is going to be covering the 4 different kinds of scenarios where you can go and do missions. So this is going to be next week, you guys, the 21st. I think Manx just put this on the website for what's coming up. And so the 4 main types of mission types that you can use in the sim, and we'll be using the Dolphin, of course, right? So career mode, which, literally millions of simmers in this sim love career mode. So not everybody does. But then there's the Miltech Mission Hub. There's the new one that just came out called Emergency Dispatcher Pro, and there's Say Intention SkyOps. So these 4 things, I'll spend a whole Tuesday doing these things and hopefully fit them all in. You could do one of these every Tuesday. I could spend the next 4 Tuesdays doing a bunch of this stuff. But enough is enough. We'll just get a taste of each one. All right, so let's go take a look at what's going to happen here. So first of all, we've already covered the A365 last week, and it's on YouTube, as you heard. So it's covering the basic helicopter and its basic 3-axis automatic modes. Now, last week I had troubles with those automatic modes. They're fixed. Things that I had trouble with, they're fixed. But I also recorded those automatic modes and made a separate video and attached it to the VOD so that it worked. And that's what's in the YouTube. The YouTube actually has those automatic modes working. So that, I had to make that happen because, in the live stream, those things weren't working as well as they should have, right, for me. And that was my own fault, too. I haven't figured them out, but now I'm good. Hey, thanks for the follow. Togs with us. How you doing? And if you'd like to come on voice and comment about anything at all, by all means, you can certainly stay in chat and just answer questions as we go along. But you guys say hello, and he spent some time today. Him and his team is busy. They just put an update out today, and they've got to respond to anybody asking questions about that update. And they probably went through 2 weeks of intense 12-hour days to get the update out to us. So big, huge thank you for that. We really appreciate you sending that update. That's helping out a lot with what's going on. So here's what we're going to be talking about, you guys. The simulator control mappings is probably the biggest thing. This one took more time than I thought it would, and Charlie can attest to that too. Charlie's still finessing his controls to make it fly properly. Now I'll say this, you guys, everything is clickable, of course, and there's even more that I learned today about how every single thing has a circuit behind it that has to be attached to proper things. That's just an amazing thing to see how in 2024, how they've opened up so much more for developers. And developers like Tog are taking advantage of that and connecting things properly inside. This sort of thing we were exposed to with WB Sim, if you guys remember. I think, Andrew, it was Robert and Skipper Jeff. Was it Robert was his name?
Yes.
Who did the WB Sim?
For WB Sim, yeah. Right.
Yeah. And you guys, we said that the WB Sim for 172 was the closest thing to an A2A simulations kind of depth. You know, for a lot of us who've been simming for years with all the different versions of Sims, we said that A2A simulations was the cream of the crop. They were the best. They were the most in-depth study level, closest thing to the real thing you could ever get. Well, I have to say, you guys, there's lots of competition for that, and today is no exception. This study level helicopter is that kind of depth, and I would say even further now because of the part of it, because they took advantage of the 2024 stuff. You'll remember TaogsHangar came out with the I keep forgetting the name of the darn thing. I think it's the 500C, but it's the I don't know, somebody type it in chat. It's a name that does not stick with me. Yeah, that's it. Type it in chat so I can say it again, right? And hey, first time chat, but we were speaking today, and so it's so nice that he's spending the time to tune into the channel tonight, you guys. But anyway, they first started working with native 2024 stuff with that helicopter and figured out more things than they discovered things that they didn't even know the sim could do. And this is one of the reasons why more and more developers are making 2024 versions only of products and not even bringing out a 2020 version. Because once they can do all of this in 2024, how do you even go back to, oh, we can't do that, we can't do that either, we can't do that, so we got to dumb it down, we got to make it simple, we got to make it broken. And so anyway, I won't get into all that tonight. We want to go focus on the helicopter, but this is why this thing is so good, you guys. They've taken advantage of some of these features in 24 that some developers still don't know about yet, or they haven't implemented on their current products. So that's what we're looking at. And it's setting the bar. The bar's becoming so high now, the next product that someone makes, can you compare it to TaogsHangar product? The next product that TaogsHangar makes, now the pressure's on because they've already set the bar this high, right? So they get their own pressure, right, because of it. Yeah, that's it. Why can I not remember that, Andrew? What's a good memory aid for that? Anyway, that's their first native 2024. I think that's their first native 2024, where they actually investigated the deeper settings that you can do for these things. All right, so cockpit orientation. Of course, I'm gonna downplay some of the stuff in this lineup, you guys. It's here in the presentation. If you guys go and get this PDF, this is one of those PDFs you should get because it's got more detail in there than I could even write. I couldn't write this fast enough if I were watching. Especially when it comes to the control mappings. A lot of this I got from their manual and went in and fine-tuned, and some of it I had to be told, oh yeah, that's the way to do it. And so Charlie's struggling right now with the trim release, and we're going to have a look at his screen if he's still struggling with it, if he hasn't figured it out. And that was something that I finally realized it was the same button for both settings, for the press part and the release part, and then the different settings for each, and it was supposed to be the same actual button. I had them on two buttons. So little things like that make it so much easier, and I'll talk about why when we get to control mappings, all right? So we'll talk about that. I'm not going to dwell on career mode, mission hub. I'm going to do that next week, you guys. I'm going to move all that over to next week because it just won't fit today. So our hands-on demos, mostly demo tonight. Walk around, of course, that's just to get it running. I probably won't even do walk around to save time. Manual flight familiarity. So there's 3 phases here that I want us to do tonight. The first phase is manually fly the helicopter without any other assists. In other words, no AFCS at all. That's really the term, AFCS, right? None of that. So we're not going to have any assists for stability or for autopilot or for any of those extra beautiful functions. So we're going to manually fly the helicopter and get comfortable with the feel of it for whatever hardware you have in your home. All right. Then we're going to talk about, okay, if we turn on the AFCS, which is on by default, by the way, if we turn that on, let's start using some of those functions. All right, and that's the next step. One of those functions we're going to start using is, very simply put, it's called beep trim. We're going to fly the helicopter with beep trim. And as you heard last week, some pilots in real life fly their helicopters with beep trim only for more of the cruise stuff. All right, certainly when you take off and land, you pretty much will do manual everything. But the beep trim idea, how does that work? All right, and then our third phase for tonight will be using some of the advanced, the fourth axis, the collective stuff that wasn't on the A365. And we're going to do things like hovering at 50 feet or even 25 feet above the surface of the water and do a rescue like you saw in that picture. So that's what we'll do, you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, part of this, and you might even want a pen and paper handy, you guys, because part of this is to show you what my mappings are on my collective and on my cyclic. I don't have a picture like this for my cyclic because my cyclic is a Moza, and a Moza doesn't have an actual diagram like this. Virpil gives us a really nice diagram like this where we can fill in the blanks. You might have to make your own diagram so that you can remember what everything is. And this is it. When I started mapping these things, what's the most convenient? And the reason you do a lot of this stuff is you can reach into the cockpit and click things, but while you're looking in the cockpit, you might crash into the ship. While you're looking in the cockpit, you might hit the surface of the water. All right, so unless you're in some mode that keeps you constant, like maybe you've been using beep trim and you're on a nice cruise and you're cruising at the right speed and the right altitude and everything's stable, okay, now go looking around the cockpit. But most times we need to go into the cockpit and find the right switch up above or the right button down below in the center console behind us. And we look back up and go, whoa, and now we're all over the place. So like in real life pilots, especially in helicopters where you typically have to hold that cyclic and hold that collective, they'll have things mapped by the manufacturer. Things will be mapped to both of these devices. And so we can take advantage of that and do like they do, knowing that I don't even have to look at my collective and I can do the right switches. I don't have to look around the cockpit, try to find that switch. I can use the built-in switches. And it can go even further than this. Some of the modes we're going to talk about, I'm going to have to use the T-pad to click those modes. You could put those modes on extra switches. I noticed here, I've still got these two, my only two that are free now on my collective. I might use those for something else as I go along. Things that I'll use most often, I'll probably put on there. Anyway, we'll show you that. It's in the presentation, so that it's in that PDF if you do happen to go get it. All right, so this is what it looks like. This is now, we're now going to go grab the, I see up here, yeah, the HH-65 A and B. This is what we're focusing on, the A and B part. When you get this helicopter from the marketplace, you will get both versions. I thought it would be easy enough to do a lesson on the whole thing. And of course, you saw last week I had to focus on just the AS365 with its 3-axis autopilot system, AFCS. Now we're doing this one with the 4-axis, which means it can do a lot more things. All right, so let's talk about this. Now, this is simply the same as last week. It's the same verbiage. It's just now we're focusing on the Dolphin. I'll call it the 65, you guys, so you know the difference between the two. All right, so this is really nothing new here. Same thing you saw last week. And the things that are the same as last week, I'm just going to go zoom, all right, because we don't need to dwell on it, all right? Things like this, specifications, as you go down the list of all the different, things that are here. I had this last week too. I leave it in this PDF because this might be the only one that you go get. You might not have got the PDF from last week, so I'll leave it in here just as a handy thing. Keep in mind that the propeller, I keep calling the propeller when I look at it like this. The rotor blades will turn clockwise because this is a French-made product. And just like, I mentioned before, it's just like that small little helicopter that we first learned to fly on. That was probably the only helicopter that came out in the sim natively when it was first released. And that's the G2, the Cabri. And yeah, that's it, Super Tie. And it also does it this way. So that means that you need right anti-torque to get going, all right? And you'll figure out how much. And just remember a good rule of thumb, if the blades, from looking from above, if the blades turn to the right, you need right pedal, all right? That's because the blades turn to the right. As soon as you leave the ground and the friction from the ground, the body wants to turn to the left. And so you have to give it right pedal. All right, that's the idea. All right, so roles and operational use. We're focusing here now on the Dolphin. Last week we did the Dolphin, and I'm not pronouncing it right. I don't have a French background, but it's as you can see in here, the 365 I'll call it, and I'll call this one the 65A or B. All right, and so there are similar functions like the SAR functions, but you'll notice that with the extra axis, it's going to make it easier for us to do SAR, search and rescue stuff. And that's what we'll do. So this session will focus on the A and B variant as we go along. All right, so let's do this, the new stuff. And the new stuff I focus on and dwell for a minute. Here's the first one. Both of these are available for us to choose in the simulator. When you choose it, make sure you have a look at this, because they look the same when you look at the picture. I mean, they are two different pictures. You can tell by the clouds, but still, you got to look here and see one says A and the other says B. And what's the difference? Now, in real life, they're all the way up to E. All right, and then part of my research was to see, are these current, are they modern, what's going on, right? Hey, Zybok, how's it going? And thanks for joining in. Both the A and the B variants have been retired or upgraded to newer configurations in real life, such as the 65C, the D, and the E. New engines, new digital cockpits, and probably with GPS now, right? My guess. So anyway, both of them share the same airframe, and a lot of this stuff is similar. The B version is an avionics upgrade, and you're going to see this when we look at the display now. If you remember before in the AS365 a week ago, it seems like months ago when we covered it, it was only a week ago, it has a vertical column of both engines, and you could see analog gauges. Even if they're in sort of an LCD screen, if you see this in cars, some cars have LCD screens where they show analog needles, which are still a pretty good thing. Look at all those emotes on the screen, which is still a good thing because it gives you at a glance where something is without trying to interpret what a digital readout means. It even says right here integrated GPS. So so that's the idea behind it. That as we go to newer versions of this helicopter, of course, GPS becomes more prevalent. Night vision goggles, which I'm not even showing you tonight. Again, another nice feature. So let's go take a look now. Here we see when we're going to pick the helicopter we want to use. I've picked this one, the B version, and it shows up here as a B, and it shows up here, and then you can go pick your liveries from there. So be selective when you get in here. You can see all of them all the way across as you scroll across all the variants, and then each of these can be used in career mode if you're doing that kind of mission. This one here called utility does have a cargo hook, but it does not have any of the SAR functionality. So if you were looking for this one in career mode, you wouldn't find it. All right, so it's a good thing to know. All right, so let's go. I'm not going to do a walk around this time because I did that last week, and I'm saving time for demo. So we're going to be demoing as we go along. Now, I did leave this in here because this is the engine that's different in the in the 65 than it was in the A365 settings. Okay, so the first thing I'll mention, you guys, if you want to follow along with me, the first thing I'd like you to do is as I show you these things, go and look. All right, because if this has assists on right now, and this is what mine looks like right now, if you have assists on in the sim, it's really going to fight what you're doing in this helicopter. You do not need these on. If you need any kind of assist, we'll use the built-in assists of the helicopter itself. I'm also going to say that if you've got any settings for other helicopters, then you should make all new profiles. I know it's a bit of work, you guys. I'm doing this to make it as clean as possible because I had other helicopter settings. I fly all helicopters. I got dozens of them now. And I have settings that are made for, you can just say apply to all helicopters because they're the standard settings. The only thing you could probably keep from other profiles is the views when you look around. Your hat switch views. Basic stuff like that that's in every aircraft, right? Make a new clean profile for each control, and then we can use them for both. So that's why I put the slash in, all right? And I put it in meaning general relates to general, helicopter relates to helicopter, specific relates to specific, because I can export these and send them to you guys if you want mine. But my settings are going to be different than yours because I've got a Virpil collective and I've got a Moza stick. So only if you have the same kind of hardware I have, then you can have these. But you can export them now anyway, like I did for FS Expo. So that's why I still have that. But I've learned already, especially with a product like this, where almost everything, every setting in here that we need to do has the word AS65 before you put the setting in. So even my landing gear switch didn't work. I had to remove that setting and I had to put in the AS65 gear down and gear up. All right, just so you realize, you guys. And they probably did that to reduce the confusion. The sim is sitting there going, I'm not sure what that's for, right? You want to make sure that it actually works the way it's supposed to, and that's going to make life easier for you. So this made it so that life was easy. The assists, first of all, make sure none are on, even if you're a beginner. And then over here, make 3 new profiles clean, nothing in them. And take the time. It doesn't take long, especially with push buttons, because push buttons go into an on state, off state just by hitting them. All right, and that's easier. Switches that are manual, you have to switch them to the off state, switch them on, let them scan, switch them off. You know, I mean, there's that pain, but that's how it works. So let's go take a look. First of all, in real life, these are the real life control mappings of a pilot of this type of aircraft. All right, now I'm just showing you, is that what mine looks like? Yeah, that's my Mosa stick right there. So I'm showing you my Mosa stick. This isn't right out of the Dolphin, but these are some of the things that you'll want to do on the stick, so you don't have to look around. Where is that? Where's the beep trim? What? Where's that inside the cockpit? You know, so this is something that, as an example, this switch right here near my thumb is my beep trim, forward, back, left, and right. It's right there by my thumb. Also, the trim release back here. I was going to say trim disconnect, but it's a trim release. I've got it on the back of it so that when my hands are around it, I can press it at any time with my middle finger. So I can press trim release while I'm flying the helicopter. All right, this is important because now I'm just thinking about flying. Now I'm not thinking about where's that control, and I'm in the cockpit looking down at that center console instead of flying out the window. Keep in mind, you guys, when you're doing stuff like this, you're flying low to the ground. Helicopters are inherent for being lower to the ground than typical planes, and very close to the ground when you're certainly doing operations on the ground. And you can't be with your head in the cockpit and all of a sudden, whoops, I hit a tree. You get your head in the cockpit and, oh, I hit the water. You know, I mean, this will happen. It's the sim, but still, put it on a stick. Put it on something you're holding on to. Know where that is and get used to it. I'm very used to the beep trim now, being right here. That's a very common thing to do all the time. So that's right here. Other things, you know, in here that you see, the trim releases I mentioned on the back, those two are the most important things to put on your stick. The rest, now this is normally look around stuff right here. And now I've got all these extra ones. I got this one that has 4-way. This one has a 4-way. I've got I don't know if it's 4-way, but it's back and forth on here. I've got another switch here I'm not even using. So this one here is my outside-inside view, so that I can quickly look outside to see the winch, you know, being released, to make sure that works. So keep that in mind, you guys. Now there's also the fire button here. I haven't even used that for anything. I use that for when I'm doing crop spraying in other helicopters. I'll use the trigger here to turn on the spray and turn off the spray. But here you can see some of the.
That today.
And that's what you used. What you did the spraying?
No, I had to use the fire button today.
Oh yeah, because there's so many things to map, right? You can like, well, there's a fire button right there, a great big red one that's easy to hit. All right, so we'll talk about why we need all of these things, but I think some of them are self-explanatory. AFCS quick disconnect, and it says disengages all 4 AFCS axis immediately. So this is the equivalent. I'll speak in terms of what a lot of you would know with fixed wing. If you're an autopilot in fixed wing and it's heading to the ground, you're fighting the stick and nothing's happening. First thing you do, and this is what we've been trained to do, was reach over to the circuit breaker for the autopilot and pull it. And it's the only circuit breaker that has a collar on it, so you can actually put your 2 fingers around it and pull it without slipping off. All circuit breakers pop on their own, or we leave them alone. We don't pull circuit breakers typically. But the autopilot circuit breaker, like in a 172, has a collar on it, so you can see it right away when you look down, and you can put 2 fingers behind the collar and pull that circuit breaker and kill that autopilot and get control of that plane before you die. So that's an important thing. What if this helicopter's got a mind of its own? What if whatever I set it to do, it's going to go and crash, or it's going to do something bad? Maybe it's descending way too fast. I'm going to disconnect the AFCS and manually fly the plane. So I want you to remember, you guys, the first rule of thumb always. And it comes from, and I remember the reminder came from a movie called The Executive Decision. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that one. The Executive Decision has Kurt Russell and Halle Berry are the two main characters. And he's only had a few lessons. He's ready for solo in real life on a GA plane. He's inside this airliner trying to take control of it, make sure it doesn't crash. And he's remembering, oh yeah, gear, and I remember, oh yeah, flaps, and what am I forgetting? And Halle Berry turns to him and says, just fly the plane. And so he's been reminded from his basic training that that's the first thing we're supposed to do, is fly the plane. And that goes for this too, you guys. There's so many bells and whistles. There's so many cool things we can do with it. If at any point it's not doing what you expect, let's disconnect the AFCS. Let's just fly the helicopter. So our first lesson, our first hands-on tonight is fly it manually. Let's do normal helicopter stuff. Lift off, fly, go up and down the runway fast, come over, hover, put it back down gently, and get to know the helicopter without any fancy AFCS automatic anything, all right? So being able to disconnect that when you need to is an important function. All right, so here it goes, and don't be intimidated. This took a while for me to build this up. Some of these things are, they're just there because I've just built them up over time. So things like translate cockpit view, left, right, center, don't worry about those. But things like reset external view, I like that. When I'm on external view and it's only showing the front of the helicopter and I want it to show behind to see what my attitude looks like, then I want to be able to reset that view. Same with inside the cockpit. I've used my mouse to go look at the center console. Now I'm trying to get back to that normal view. I just press a button and I'm back to normal view. So things like that are obviously sim-centric, but they are really handy. So these two alone are really handy no matter what I'm flying, all right? And that cockpit external view mode. Now, these are the normal things, the cyclic lateral, the cyclic longitudinal, and I put the diagram in there so you realize longitudinal, the longer one, and lateral is left and right. It's just basic stuff that some of you have never been shown or told about, so I include it here so you know what I'm talking about. Here's the specific things. Here's our beep trim, all directions, and here's our trim release. As I mentioned, this is really important, this part right here, if you want to do it like the real pilots do in these types of things. You can see I've got three separate things. That's just for my cyclic, all right? So that's what I've got going. Again, you can take a picture of that right now while I'm talking about it, or you can go get the PDF from the Ko-Fi site if you don't mind paying the $3 donation. That's going to help out a lot. So cyclic trim settings for beep trim. So let's focus on that one itself. As you saw, I'm just doing a zoom in on that. I'm using this one right here, or any one at all you can use. If you've got a head tracker, you might not need to look around like this. This is your left, right, up, up, down, look around kind of hat switch. If you already have a head tracker to do that, then you could use this for beep trim. All right, so it just depends what you want to do. On my stick, I've got all these extra ones that go in all four directions that could be used also. So I had choices. This was the easiest one. It's right where my thumb rests. Normal flying, my thumb rests right here to do normal flying with the cyclic. And I can just easily reach down here and do beep trim and then leave the cyclic alone. All right, so that's what I've got. So I just wanted to show you that. Now, I also want to mention beep trim is very small increments, and that's the way it is in real life too. Very small increments. So if you want to do anything drastic, let's say I'm in level flight and I want to go faster now, or even I'm in hover and I want to go faster now. So I want to get that nose down quickly and get going, and some up collective, of course, so I don't head to the ground. So what I can do is hold that beep trim, just hold it, and there's your repetition going on. And when you hold it, you'll see the nose actually just go like that, nice and fast. If you just do it one beep trim at a time, it's like click, 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 click. I'm all the way up to 10. Yeah, I'm going a little bit. I'm all the way up to 30 knots. Okay, click, click, click. Oh, I'm up to 40 knots. And it's like you spend a long time, nice and gradual, but you're wasting a lot of time. You can hold that because of the way we've set it up, and it will just take that nose down for you. And away, now let go, and it'll stay like that. So it'll stay with that attitude when you let go of that beep trim. And so that's what we want to try. That'll be phase 2 when we get into that. That's starting to do some automation. All right, phase 3, we'll go into the advanced fourth axis stuff. All right, so here's an example of what that looks like, the cyclic trim settings for trim release. And this is the one I think, Charlie, you're having trouble with. I would like to see if you could put up on your screen what your trim release settings are. We'll come to your screen and we'll have a look at that. But here's an example, you guys. There's 2 settings for this. Make sure it says AS65. You'll find a trim release press and a trim release release. Now this is hard to understand what this is, and the fact that it's the same button too, until I had to sort it out and figure it out and play around. So I did a lot of experimentation. I've done crashes left and right. Hopefully tonight on stream I'll have a nice safe flight. But I found out these things, and that's why I made the diagram, to make it easier for you guys. So this actually was explained in the manual, so I just had to reread it and finally figure it out, right? So in here, the release press has to be input repetition, and that's what I'm talking about. When you press and hold, you're holding it, it's actually going to send these trim pulses out, and that's what gets that nose going down lower and lower. This is like in real life, right? And so when you release that button, then you want it to be set control on release. It's the same button. So as I'm holding it down, it's sending out pulses. When I release it, it's actually saying it's released now. When it's released, it's grabbing whatever that attitude is right now. It's literally grabbing it and holding that attitude. If you had it canted to the left, it's going to stay that way. If you had the nose down, it's going to stay that way. And this is really handy, especially on long cruises. I got to go 10 miles out to the rescue site in the ocean. I'm not going to sit there with the cyclic forward the whole time. I can do beep trim and relax and think about the maps and where I'm going and talk to my crew and all the rest of it. All right, so keep in mind that's why it's designed that way. This is an important part. It's also used when we have some automated mode on and we want to fly it manually for a minute. So I would just press trim release, which is on the back of my cyclic, and now I would just fly normally. So that's actually really interesting too, how we do that. And there's a similar type of function for the collective. And I don't want to get you guys confused with a million settings, but once we sort this out, flying is good, you guys, the way it's supposed to, right? So here's mine on the back. I'm looking at the back now of my Moza stick, and there's the one I'm using, this hidden little switch here. And it's so easy because you can see there's my beep trim with my thumb, and my hand is wrapped around the cyclic. So I just use my middle finger just to give it more pressure, and I've automatically got trim release going on. But you can figure out what's going to work for you guys. My first step was getting actual helicopter hardware in front of me. All right, so the Virpil stick, which Virpil didn't help me out on, I had to go buy it full price like everybody else. But the Moza stick, that was something that Moza let me try and do reviews and do tests on it. So I'm really happy for that. It's a force feedback stick and it works really well. And I just love it. And I ended up turning around and selling my Virpil stick so that, you know, there's no reason having both of them now. So whatever stick you have though, you can find the switches that work for you. I'm trying to make it as close to realistic as possible. Now let's move over to the control mappings for the collective. All right, now here's my collective head. It's a Virpil head that I'm using. And as you saw earlier, I do have a diagram that once I figured out what I wanted each switch to do. And that took a while to figure out. As I'm flying, which switch would be the most convenient? Which one do I push most often? Which one can I feel and make sure I know which one I'm on? Every single one of these have a different feel, except for these 3. I mean, one of them is in red, this push button, but these 3 push buttons, when you feel them in the dark or when you're not looking, feel the same, but they are in different positions. I could put my thumb here on the first one and move up one, and I know I have this one without looking. I could put my thumb over to the left and find the only push button there without looking, all right? And then these 3 across the top, again, they're positional, all right? And I use 2 of the 3. This one over here I still haven't used yet. There'll be something I'll want to map soon. Now the ones in the middle here are interesting because one is concave, one's convex. So the normal hat switch, because it looks like a hat, the normal hat switch is typically used for views. And this one I'm using for FD slew because I need all directions for that. And there's actually a center button when you push it also. And I'm using that for a collective trim release. The center button right here, easy to get at. This one I'm using for collective beep trim. Up and down. It's just an up and down switch and it works. I just realized today there's actually a push button in the center for it too, which I'm not using. So that's kind of interesting. So all of this stuff, you guys, all of this stuff I'm doing it because I'm fortunate enough to have a collective. I knew when I started working with helicopters and teaching helicopters, you got to have the right hardware. But if you don't, you could simply use any throttle that you're using today. You could use your Bravo too, your Bravo throttle quadrant. You could use a T1600. I did a video once for my helicopter class on Udemy where I just have the T1600 and the throttle that's at the base of it. The throttle at the base I'm using as my collective. And then the stick I'm using as the cyclic. And I'm flying helicopters with it. With just that. That's probably the inexpensive way to get started with helicopters. But once you're getting more serious and you want to have more fun and more realism, here we got a realism product in front of us. And I'm lucky enough to have a realism hardware to go with it. So that helps a lot. Just fly the plane. Yeah, his instructor says earlier in the film when he was doing flying lessons. Yeah, and it is a good point, Surly Dev. In that movie, there is that relationship. He was told that way back when he was learning to fly in the little plane, and then he's being told that by Halle Berry. But wait a minute, how does she know that exact same thing, right? Did she take lessons? How would she know enough to tell him to fly the plane, or would it be an echo in his head of his instructor, right? So look at these things that are here. GA. Now go around push button. And you think, just a minute, wait a minute. I'm not coming in on the ILS. Well, actually you can in this helicopter. But this go around in this case can be used for that. But it's mainly used for once you've finished your operation in a hover and you want to get out of there, you would use this. And we'll talk about that and what it does, and I'm going to demo that. And I want all of you to try that because that's got to be one of the coolest features that's built into it. C-Sync, collective sync, that's the same as our trim release that we have for the cyclic, only now it's a trim release for the collective. All right, you got to have that. We got a fourth axis now. This becomes more complex and more useful because of our fourth axis. This is an autopilot with 4 axis now. So the FD uncouple, and they say it's an alternate switch. The hover beep switch, again, there's a beep switch. Okay. So, and this adjusts the hover altitude reference when you're in these two modes. These are our two advanced hover modes, which we're going to show you now. And with the new update, they're even more stable now. They've done a lot of work to make those more stable. And so let's say that you did finally come to a hover, but you're 150 feet off the deck of a ship, and you've got to get someone down onto that boat, right? You're too high up. You've got a 92-foot rope or a 92-foot chain or whatever you're using to send someone overboard and send them down to that ship, and you're just too high. So you could use your collective trim release, and now you've got full collective control, and now you're descending really quickly, and it's like, ooh, that's a bit too fast. So you could do that, or you could actually use the hover beep switch to go down just 3 feet, or just down another 3 feet, or just down another. You might be only 25 feet off the water, and you only want to go down 3 feet. I'm not going to be using collective trim release to do that. I might drop 10 feet right there and I've got waves hitting my helicopter. So when you want to get that close to things and be that steady in this type of mode, you'll really love this beep trim, because then you can just adjust up or down, like 3 feet at a time. That's pretty precise. And I really love that kind of feature. So these are things that we want to show you tonight too. So let's, this is a great product to show you all these things. All right, so the collective itself, here's what mine looks like. If you ever want to see what you've got already assigned, just go over here and pick assigned. I've chopped this down so we can, we don't have to see the whole screen, but come over here to this drop down where it's a filter, and just pick assigned to see what you have assigned. And this is what I have assigned for my collective. And you can see most of these things say AS65 something. All right, as you can see all the way down, from here all the way down, these are all specific to this product. Quick reply is used in career mode to answer anything up there on the screen when it says call your crew and call the control tower and tell them you're coming in, call this call. In the sim it's just basic menu stuff where you typically press enter. That's now on my collective, so I can just easily do quick replies, and that just makes it easier. The VR toolbar toggle, just so you know, I'm going to explain them because they're here. This is when you are in VR. By default in VR, it pops up a menu, and it's always in your face. No matter where you look, it's there in front of your face, a menu that you don't want. All right, so it's actually the toolbar menu from the top, right? And so I have a toggle for that to get rid of it. I might need that menu, but in VR, it's right in my face all the time. So most of us will do that. And then, of course, the most important one, the collective axis itself. All right. And there's my convenient one for external cockpit view mode right on my collective. And again, you can see I've got 3 different profiles here specific to this collection of aircraft, right? So now here for the slew, the FD slew, this is in, flight director slew. This is important. You're going to see where we're going to use this when we get to that mode. If you have a head tractor, the upper hat switch is for views, but if you have a head tracker, you can use it again. This one's easy to feel and get to, and it's the one that most people use for views. But again, if you have a head tracker, you could use that instead. We have choices. These are the only 2 that I have that are 4-way kind of hat switches. This one's just an up and down, and these are just toggle switches for state, and these are push buttons. So these are the only 2 I've got available. This one's already for views, and when I'm on stream, I try not to use my head tracker because some people get pretty dizzy, I've been told. So so I use this one. I use that for views, and I'll use this one for my FD stuff. And then finally, the trim release, the C sync. C means collective sync. Again, it's the same exact idea of the press and release. The press should be always, the default is repetition on, so you just leave that default. But on the release, you go in there and you turn off the repetition and you turn on release, activate on release. And again, it acts the same way as your cyclic trim release did. You can hold it and manually fly. Now with the collective, we can hold this and manually adjust your collective, and then you can let go of it. All right, and so we're going to show you that in action as we go along. All right, what else am I showing you here? This is C-Sync press and release. Oh yeah, I'm using the center button on here. Why not? I'm already using this one for FD stuff all the way around, so now I'm going to use the center button on here for my C-Sync press and release. So just to give you an idea, so there you can see it. There's that center button right there. C-Sync is in the middle, and then my FD slew up, left, down, and right. Collective beep up and down, the slider right here that goes only up and down. There's my reset external cockpit view, and there's my external internal cockpit view. VR toolbar toggle, AP CPL, that's your coupler release, press release. That's handy also. And then gear up and gear down, that's handy. Don't forget it's the AS65 gear up and gear down. The other one doesn't work. You got to use that one. The views, I didn't type them in there, but I'm using that for views, and this one hasn't been used yet. And there's my go around button. Oh boy, I'm gonna have some fun showing you that. All right, so there is this document, you guys. They have spent so much time. I don't even know. I didn't ask how long. Just looking at this document, just looking at their manual first, and then looking at their settings document, somebody in their organization knows how to make documentation. This is amazing. And here's where I learned, I didn't go in here at first because I don't want to know all the details yet. When I'm first learning this product, when I finally did come into this document and started looking at it, I thought, oh, there it is right there, explained to me completely and very clearly what needs to be done in our settings. So this is really cool that it's already there if you come into this document and see what's going on. And you can go take a look for yourself. You can have the manual and this document without buying the product, you guys. And I've said this before, you guys, and I had a link to that. I have a link coming up anyway, if someone doesn't know it right away. But it's on TaogsHangar website. It's in their manual section. You can go get these things ahead of time if you want to have a look. I strongly recommend you do get it because there's been times I've had to go and look and see if this setting pertains to this model of the helicopter. So I said that I'd have a link for you. There it is. Don't forget to spell it properly, you guys. I had it spelled wrong the first few times. TAOG, TaogsHangar, without the apostrophe, of course, in the URL, and then /manuals. Also inside the T-pad, there's a section that says user guides, and it has this QR code. I mean, I've expanded it so big that it's blurry, but that's right inside the user guide, right in the helicopter, so you can go and scan that and go get it. But I will say, you guys, this is just, you should eventually, just like any real airplane, you should eventually read all the pages. But for now, pick out the parts you need, and that's what I'm doing here tonight, is showing you the most important parts as we go along. All right, but I'm going to say to you guys, and I write manuals, I'm going to say that this is remarkable, the quality of this manual. And they're smart enough to know that if the manual has all the answers they need, then they won't get a million questions going to their tech support. I'm serious, you guys. If developers would just realize this, we have looked at products where I've said to you, well, the manual tells you about sim stuff, your click spots and some Easter eggs or whatever else they're showing you in their 3 or 4 pages. And I've told people, let's go get the POH because that's where all the answers are. In this case, you guys, and I've seen this only with a few products, in this case, I'm going to say to you, this is all you need. Don't go get a POH. This is it. It's got more stuff in here than you will read the first few times. It's got more stuff in here than you might not ever read because you don't care about those areas. So it's that elaborate, and they've done an excellent job on it. So that's all you need, nothing else. And this is free. And you know, it's like, what? So I think if you go get this manual and you haven't got the product yet, I think that just looking at the manual, you probably go get the product. I think when you do something this well, you probably will go buy the product afterwards. This is only available on the marketplace, and it's only made for 2024 because of all the features it's using. And you're going to see more and more developers doing that, you guys, as they finally catch on what to do with 24. So look at this. There's 17 sections of the manual. Any one of those areas you can go to. We're focusing now on the HH-65 section 6 and then some of the other parts in here. All right, so just so you know what we're doing today. And we're using just Control E and go fly. Yeah. Thanks for the links, Rap. I appreciate it. So checklist, let's talk about that. So you know my normal 7 steps. I'm reducing it down to a few. I'm not going through all 7 today like we did last week. I want to get into flying the plane, as they say, all right? Maddie Lynn, for mapping the Xbox controller. Yeah, I could do that, absolutely. First, I'm going to have to map it and see how it goes, and then I'll share it with you. I'll say right now, in the manual, you guys, and this isn't being mean, but in the manual, it's actually specified. Maybe even on the product page, I think I saw it. It's specified that you can use an Xbox controller to fly this thing, but it's not recommended. So Maddie Lynn, I'm not saying that because you fly Xbox. I'm saying there's so many things here that you want to map. You're going to run out of buttons, right? And so I'm going to figure it out for you, and for all the other Xbox flyers, I'll figure out the basics that you need. All right, and it's going to include beep trim and it's going to include trim release. It's got to be those 2 things in there, and then normal flying of the plane, right, or of the aircraft. So yeah, I'll certainly do that for you, absolutely. Because you're special, and I'm saying that, you guys. I mean, Maddie Lynn, she's been with us a long time, and she's been hanging in there, and she's always here, and that's cool, and I like that. I appreciate that. I'll put out the extra effort too. So engine handling, when you guys saw this last week, use guys, there we go. That was a slip. You guys, you all, can I say y'all? Yeah, I just saw that recently, y'all. First time I saw Keith Urban was when he was still just finally starting to climb up the charts, and he would get out on stage and nobody knew who he was. He had long hair. We're talking about the Ryman Theater in Nashville, and here he is on the stage, and I'm going, who is this guy? He looks like a rock star. And he goes, hi, y'all. And the whole place went nuts, right? It's like, oh, okay, they know him. But, that's the first time I heard y'all. And now I have friends who say it all the time. So I'm going to slip now and then. It's probably because I hide out in Florida in the winters, right? There's a lot of y'all down there, too. Which I think stands for you all, right? Which I still don't think is proper grammar anyway. You all, okay. All of you? I don't know. So this is, now I'm showing the A, but it also pertains to the B. But you'll notice when you glance at the panel, right away you'll see all these digital readouts instead of the analog dials we saw before. So it's the same kind of functions, but here's MGT over here, here's NG RPM over here, and then there's your normal temperatures and pressures in the green. Your fuel, your engine oil, engine temperatures. This is something you glance at before you even, you lift off and hover at skid height, and the first thing you look at is the normal things, you guys, just like in the R22 lessons. The normal things we look at in a hover, we look at annunciators are all off, the RPMs, are the RPMs where they're supposed to be, rotor RPM, engine RPMs, and then we also look for temperature pressures in the green and fuel's good. So these are like a quick 5-step check while you're in the hover. Because if something's wrong, you can put it down. You're only 3 feet off the ground. If something were to fail at that point, you're only 3 feet off the ground. That's why we do it. Okay, so let's go take a look. Special features, variants, and mission equipment. So here we see the variants and we see what they can do. And if you notice in
Have
here,
the realism
black
that I
spots that are
enjoy.
here, although some of them are up here in different variations, but right across the board here, search and rescue with the A version of this one, the 65A. And then you'll notice that in the B version also, search and rescue long nose. Now, what else is different in the long nose? And we're going to go find out as we go along. But also notice, though, there's something called the High-Tron kit. And I'm not familiar with this, except it does mention that it's cosmetic mission equipment only. It has no career mode or mission hub function. So I haven't even gone there, haven't even flown it, I haven't even looked at it. Not sure why that version is even there if we can't use it in these other modes. But maybe it's a good fly-around helicopter for when you don't have to do missions. I'm not sure. All right. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to be focusing on the B version. Actually, this whole lesson I'm focusing on the B version, but it can do all the things that A can do plus more. And we're going to go take a look at that. And so here we also notice the 65A SAR, Search and Rescue Standard and Hoist. And this is, we're talking about career mode missions. And I've actually gone into career mode and bought the darn thing and then went and did a mission. And I didn't have the hover functionality figured out yet, so I ended up putting it in the water and the mission went over. So it wasn't a successful mission, so I'm not going to show it to you. I'm not going to show you that mission. But it's something like, I don't know how many million? I don't know, it's $4 million to buy it in career mode. It's like, yeah, if you got that kind of money, yeah. All right, it also can work in the Miltech Mission Hub, but I have to say, you guys, there's something new today in today's update where you can do your own kind of Miltech Mission Hub kind of functionality without going into Miltech Mission Hub. So, there's that too. And that's where that picture came from that I showed you earlier, if I still have it around. And that was where I had a picture of right here. This was doing a mission built into it in the new update now. Doing this really nice hover, and the animation of this going down and picking up the person and bringing them back up in the cage. I was like, oh my gosh, they've done all this. Oh my gosh, lots of fun, lots of fun. All right, excuse me. Okay, so I'm not going to focus again on text on a screen. It's never fun to read that, but this is all in the presentation. So let me just mention now, because this has got some new functionality in it, the integrated T-pad. If you click up here, you'll see it sitting right there. If you click up here, it'll pop out, and then you can go and take a look at it. Let's go right now and see what this looks like. That's every time you see one of these icons, it means let's go look at the darn thing. So let's move over to our main screen, where we can actually go in and check it out. Okay, let me just probably drop it right into here. And I'm on that same place we were talking about, KSVN, Sierra Victor November. And let's just go in now and go take a look at this thing. It's going to be running as I already stop, as I get into it. Yeah, looking at chat now, I'm just doing this moment to take a quick look at chat. I see there's nothing new that we haven't talked about there, but I agree, Surly Dev, a video on mapping controls and then a video on mapping controls for the Xbox, so we'll do that. More and more hardware now works on Xbox too, so keep that in mind. So here we are. If you hear a vibration, you guys, it's my force feedback stick is sitting there vibrating a little bit because it's already running. There's some vibration there. This view is the normal view. If I click my normal view, whoops, my normal view here, it goes back to that. It's perfect for flying a helicopter, and then if you use your hat switch to look around, perfect for flying a helicopter. And I see we've got some of you here. Fierce Wolf is here, Charlie's here, whoops. But what I will say, you guys, is there is another view that's better when you want to see your instruments, and that is take your right mouse and just go like this. At least you see your airspeed and your radar altimeter and your HSI. But I'm just saying, this is even better if you really want to see all of these main scan instruments. For instance, your VSI here, this can look differently depending on what you've selected or what mode you're in, but that's very important also. So many times I'm flying like this. The problem with doing this view is now you're looking more toward the pavement. and it's hard to judge. You saw it last week. It's hard to judge when you're coming close to the ground, and all of a sudden, doosh, I hit the ground. So normally that's why this view is best. This is, I keep hitting the wrong one. This is the best view because you're looking straight to the horizon, and now you know what normal looks like. And that's how you're supposed to look when you're flying a helicopter, out to that horizon. Let me just, Charlie, let me just move the guest zoom picture out of the way so that people aren't, their audio is still good, you guys, but then you can see what I'm pointing at. Two of the things that I have to do, first of all, a lot of things are down here, along here, and way back here also. The very first thing I'm going to have you do is turn these off and manually fly the helicopter. All right. I noticed here, and Charlie noticed also, when you take this tag off of the parking brake, it puts it on the gear. And you take it off the gear, it puts it on the parking brake. So I didn't notice that before. So maybe if you take it off the parking brake and then release the parking brake, I might even start moving forward. But the gear now can't be brought up until I'm in the air, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure why, but I'll put the parking brake back on so I don't move anywhere. But there's the FD panel here. We still got to touch stuff there. And back here also we're going to be touching some things. And then same with that one display. This, I just mentioned it, you guys, part of cockpit orientation. We will want to change some things on this display. So we'll be using some of the functionality that you see back here and back in this area right here. So there's a lot of stuff right here in this middle console. While I'm looking at this stuff, I can't see out the window. I have no idea what's going on. And so I would bet that the pilots glance over, put their hand on the actual knob or button, and then they're looking out the window while they're adjusting stuff, or they're looking at a display while they're adjusting stuff. So, and that's very hard to do in the sim, you guys. Now, if you have a head tracker, you look over, you look back, just like in real life, right? That can work out. All right, so what I wanted to show you here, the main reason I'm here, other than the orientation, is to show you the T-pad. So over here, I'm just going to click in this area over here. Out it comes. And you can put that anywhere you want afterwards. I like putting it right over. Sure. I like putting it right over here. Right there. Okay. I'm going to put it right there. So I like putting it on that center console where I don't need to see that center console, but I definitely need to see. This is prime real estate. So I'm going to leave it right here. And one of the reasons I wanted to show you stuff in here, look at Fierce Wolf, he knows helicopters, right? One of the reasons I wanted to show you this, there's that user guide area with the QR code. The live map, you might want to have this on here. You might want to tow yourself around. This will pull you ahead or wherever you want to go. But I want to go look at, first of all, let's go look at cockpit options. And you can see in here, you can pick the 3 options. Now I have a slide for this, but still, live is always better. And if you notice in here, it's 3 different options, different than the AS365. The AS365 did not have FMS style gauges. I'll just show you what that looks like. I'll just click it. And the rest seems the same, you know, the normal stuff that's here. While I'm here also, I wanted to show you on the exterior, you have options to turn things on or off. Right now it says rescue winch, cargo hook, fast rope. Now the fast rope was the part that I said I shouldn't have on there if I'm going to do a rescue. The fast rope, let's go to the outside view. That's these structure that you see right here. That's a fast rope. All right, and you can see they probably hook on here and then you rappel down. You slide down the rope. I've done those when I was in the service because I used to fix helicopter systems. And you know how they test them? So I would fix optics or electronics on their systems, and then they would have us come aboard. And so I got lots of time in a helicopter in the back because, you know, bring the technician in that fixed it, and that way you know it's going to be good because their life is on the line too. So we've actually, and for fun, I did the same thing as they did as a military person. We would rappel down the rope onto the ground. It's a little scary jumping out of a helicopter with just a rope in your hand, but it does work. So anyway, I want to get rid of that part because I'm going to be doing a rescue with the winch. Over here you can see there's the winch right there. Working winch, works great, and it has an animation to go with it. So I want to get rid of this part right now so I don't have to use that. Go back inside, come over here, and I'll just get rid of the fast rope. All right, look back outside, and now the fast rope is gone. All right, so that's what we're doing. You're just figuring out what you want done. If you're going to if you're going to use the searchlight, you should map all 4 directions for it also, which have settings for that also. All right, but I'm not doing that today. All right, but that's the idea behind all of that. By the way, I did just change the cockpit so that we have FMS style displays here that we can work with. And some people want that. They like that. They're used to that with other products. So that's an important part to have there. And then you can certainly change others. But here's what I'm going to go into right now. First of all, weight and balance is really well done. I love it. Certainly better than the default sim stuff. And then doors and hoist. Let's go in there. So this is new in here. The doors and hoist was always there, but not this interface. Here's all open, all close, and here we see the different doors as we go along, right? It says door control. All right, the pilot door, the rescue door. All right, let's hit the rescue door and go out. You can see the rescue door open. Oh, something popped up here too. Interesting. So I did it really fast so I could see what would happen there. Oh, it's just the top part right here so you don't hit your head, and you can also reach out and get that. I see. That's cool. So I'm going to hit the rescue door here and go quickly over there. Click. Oh yeah. So that you can stand up and walk right out on it. That's cool. And this guy's ready to roll. And in the back here, as soon as I pick a rescue, the back end here, you're going to see the cage for it too. Oh, that's interesting. So lots of fun, you guys. So now this is interesting because on here, you notice here, start your own SAR ops. Is that cool or what? Start hoisting, rescue, secure, board, rescue, and then complete. And down here we see lower and upper. This is new in the update just today, a few hours ago. This is gorgeous. And again, it's customer feedback. They get a ton of emails. Here, you should do this, you should do that. It'd be nice if you did this. It'd be nice if you did that. And they just went to work and made it all happen. That's cool. Okay, rock and roll. What else do we need to know with this menu? That's all I wanted to show you, I think. The autopilot functions, we are going to stay here because it's much easier than coming down here like this and trying to focus on, is it down here? Is it one of these? While I'm looking at it sideways, it's over here somewhere. Maybe it's up here. I don't know. It's over here. So this is, by the time you figure all this out, you probably crash. So let's do it up here like this, or even the normal view like this, where I can still see it and I can fly it. Okay, so let's do that. And so, okay, let's go back in now. I wanted to show you those things, and then I want to just go back in for a second and show you a few more things, and then we're going to go fly. All right, so we were on this page right here. And we were just talking about the T-pad and how it's got these extra functions. The avionics choices, as I mentioned, I clicked on the CCD and it gave us this now. All right, so that's cool for those who need it. I've got it set for this. This is what I'm used to, the whole 750, 650 thing, and even the 430, 530 thing. So here I couldn't help it, you guys. I had to update my slide deck today a few minutes before we started the stream because here's my rescue, and it was successful, and I was really excited about it, and I did it. And that's just the fun of it, right? So we're going to go and do that when we get out to the water. All right, so cockpit views to finish up. I'm only showing you 3 here. Again, I'm doing everything quicker today because I want to get out there. Shift 1, Shift 3, and Shift 4. So Shift 1 is focusing on the panel itself without any view outside to get a good look at the instruments, to get a good look at the annunciators, etc., to get a good look at your normal scans. Shift 3 gets you into the center console so you can see stuff along here because this is a major panel right here, the FDS panel, and of course your FMS panel. Shift 4 takes you further back on that center console because back here is where we turn on all the AFCF stuff. These are the 4 different axes right here, and these are the couplers. So we need to be able to see this too. Once it's on, you pretty much leave it on. We're going to start out by turning it off. So we want to know where it is. But that's all we need today. Anything else, you just use your right mouse button and move there. So let's have a quick look at the display to make sure. This could be a reminder from last week, or maybe you weren't here last week. But here's our normal scan that you can see at the top. If you remember last week, I said their radar altimeter should be up here, not way down here, because we had to go full. We had to move our whole view down just to see the radar altimeter, right? Now, I will mention to you guys, you can use glass out and pick some of these. So this is actually one of the coolest things about glass out. You guys heard about glass out? We were one of the first to show it. And it got very popular after our session. And then when I interviewed Artur, when we were at FS Expo, he said since that time he's been overloaded for 2 weeks just helping people with their questions and improving it and making additions. So glass out, you guys, it doesn't use any of your frames for that. It uses CPU cycles if it has to use any, and it really works well. Glass out, yeah, that's it. Thanks for that. Thanks for the link. So I'll demonstrate that as soon as we get there. But here's one of the things I've done. I've popped this out to a glass out screen so that I don't have to dive down into the cockpit while I'm trying to see outside. All right. And it's hard to see, especially when it's, you know, this light kind of green on top of black screens. It's very hard to see that, and you're squinting and trying to get in there really close. And so I like to pop that out where it's right in front of my face on something else, on your phone or something, right? Or your iPad or whatever. This is your landing gear switch right here, and there's three in the green, your typical thing. Your RPMs now are not an analog dial, they are digital. And here's our torque percent. When you get up here to 110, you'll hear the engine complain. All right, airspeed, normal airspeed, and radar altimeter, because we're doing close operations a lot. Look at that, all the way up to 2,000. Keep in mind now, this is the interesting part, and this is done realistically here in the sim, in this product. When we travel along the ground, as you get things that are bumps, even leaves, trees, as you do that, you'll see your radar altimeter jumping all over the place. And you think, oh, it's just flaky, you know, it must be the sim, it must be the product. No, that's how it is in real life. That laser beam hitting the ground is telling you how far it is to the surface or whatever it's hitting below you. And so that radar altimeter can be moving around until you're over smoother areas like flat land or the airport grounds or over water, you know. And so then you'll see that become more stable as we go along, right? Hey, thanks for that, Surly Dev. And so keep in mind, this will be steady as a rock because this is based on your barometric pressure, as we all know. And so that will stay steady while this one's bouncing around. So there's nothing wrong with it. That's real. And vertical speed, of course. I see, of course, right? All right, first phase of flight. Let's go, you guys. So what we're going to do is normal stuff. And I'm going to recommend that we do all our hover exercises over the grass area or over the ramp. All the hover stuff we're going to do. And if you're going to go forward at any speed at all, let's use the length of the runway. We got the whole airport to ourselves, all right? And so we'll use the runway to speed up and go down to the far end of the runway, turn around, speed up and go to the far end of the runway. And we'll do it from the right side of the runway, always on the right side. And that way we're always doing a pattern where we won't run into each other, okay? And I'll show you that in the picture. But we're going to do these functions, of course, right now. Find a parking spot. We'll use quick start for the first flying demonstration, and we're going to disable all the AFCS functions, all that hard work for years, and we're going to turn it off, and we're just going to go fly the helicopter. That's our first phase. All right, we got 3 phases tonight. All right, so to do this first phase, we're going to reach down here. We're going to do shift 4, which gets us right back to the back of that center console. We're going to turn off trim and FD couple. That essentially gives us no autopilot functions whatsoever, not even our beep trim, you guys. We're going to manually go fly the helicopter. Let's go. Over to this screen. Going to resume now. And let's jump in. Now, before we jump in, let me just check. I did ask Charlie if I could see his mappings. I don't know if you showed me. I don't see it on my preview screen, Charlie, but did you want to look at that at the moment, or did you find it's working now?
Actually, I got it working.
You got it working. Okay, cool. So, you guys, I'm just using my mouse to switch around. If I can look at it from like a sideways view, then I can do it from here nice and fast. All right, but if you don't want to do it like that with your right mouse button, let me put it back to normal, then you can just press Shift 4 and it takes you all the way back to where we want to be. Now I want to take off trim by clicking it. I want to take off FD sync by clicking it. So you don't have to turn off all 4 axes paddles here. You don't have to do that. You just have to uncouple them is really what we've just done. All right, and now we're in manual mode. I'm going to press back to my normal view again. And now I should be able to start moving. I'm going to go from this view right here. All right, and that's all done from my collective. That's cool. So now what I want to do is release my brake, and I want to just taxi a little bit, and then I want to start a hover. All right, so let's try the first 2 functions with manual. I have to use my collective and I have to use my stick, and I'll put up the input viewer so you can see what's going on, because there's nothing that's going to help me with this. All right, so just to give you an idea for those who haven't seen this from last week, I go up and down with my collective. You're going to see it move right here. So I don't have to show you my physical. I did have a camera on it, but now I needed 2 cameras to show you both controls, but now I'm just going to leave it like this. Also, you'll notice that this is my cyclic. As I move my cyclic back, forward, you'll notice the X stays in the middle. The X is my trim. You'll notice that when we start using beep trim, the X will start moving, typically up ahead. And when we're cruising along at almost full speed, we can actually just relax off the stick and just leave it where it is. Usually it's center position for most of us, right? And so you'll see it just sitting back here while the X is somewhere else. The X means it's trimmed. So think of the X as your trim. That X that you see behind it right here, that's your trim. And that will move as we go along. And then finally we have our anti-torque pedal at the bottom. So we have both controls here, cyclic, anti-torque, and over here we have our collective. So to get this thing moving, first of all, we want to make sure we don't have a brake on. So coming down here, brake is off. And then I did want to ask why the tag switches back and forth. Not sure why. But anyway, I will have to do that and eventually put the gear up. So the parking brake is off. I'm just going to give it a little bit of collective. Now remember the sideways view. I mentioned this last week. The sideways view, we've already got the angle. Look at that angle. I'm going to just come around manually and just go like that. Look at the angle, you guys. I'm already creeping forward, just idling. But that angle there tells us that some of that lift component is going to be used to move us forward. And the more collective I give it now, the more it starts moving. All right, so that's important to note. And then, of course, you steer with your legs. I mean, steer with your anti-torque pedals. Put it back to normal view, and now I can see where I'm going. You won't need much, just like with fixed wing planes. You give it some power, and then you put your collective back down to the floor, and I'm just coasting now. And be careful, because the faster you get, like any tricycle, the faster you get, you might tip over. So I'm pulling back on my cyclic just to make sure, and now I'm turning to the right. Now let's stop it right here. I'm using my toe brakes to stop it, and now I want to go up. All right, so I'm going to go back inside, back to normal view, and now I'm going to raise my collective. Now to do this, take a look at my input viewer. To do this, I'm going to move my cyclic back. Because it's got a tilted rotor to start with, if you start to take off now, it'll make it go forward first and then lift off, and now you're already moving. That's fine if you're going to take off from a runway. We're taking off straight up, and we've been given clearance to go straight up. You got to pull back on the stick, because once you leave the ground, you want to stay straight. You don't want to go forward, all right? So that's what I'm doing now. I'm pulling back on the stick a little bit to the right, which is realistic, and I'm going to pull up on the stick. You can see the collective starting to build. I'm light on my skids, and I'm going to break away any minute now, and I'm up, just like that. Looking from the outside view, oh, my main wheels aren't all the way off. And as I see myself moving around, I'm adjusting my cyclic. Am I going forward, backwards, left, right? And I'm at this point here, I'm just getting a feel for the helicopter. So I'm doing the same thing you would do. I'm looking at this side view now. Am I going forward or back? Oh, I'm turning, so I'm going to turn to the right. I'm sinking, so I'm going to give it some more collective. I'm just manually adjusting everything just to try and get it stable, all right? And I'm intentionally going all over the place. I'm going to go left, right, don't go too drastic, and then try to get some control of it. So, and then if it's out of control or it's going too fast, now I'm going to pull it back down, let it sink, and try to get it down nice and gently, like that. And if you have to do what I'm doing now, you guys, go in the outside view and see what the attitude looks like, because sometimes this can be deceiving. Sometimes it looks like I'm going to crash, but in fact, I've just got a nose down attitude, right? So here I'm going to try it from the inside now. I'm going to pull back on the stick again. It was a bit too much the last time, so I'm anticipating maybe there. I'm going to pull up on the collective. Let's see how that works. Still going forward. There's pavement going underneath me. No, that's fine. Pavement is not going underneath me. but I am turning to the right. I'm moving around. So what do I need to do? Correct with right pedal, correct with forward to bring the nose down so I stop going backwards. So you got to get used to this view. What does the horizon look like? And that's the best way. I see a tower up ahead. I'm going to head toward it. All right, now I'm going to push forward on the stick. You can see the input viewer pushing forward on the stick. Now I'm picking up speed. Remember, I've turned off all assists. I'm turned off all autopilot stuff. Don't want to hit buildings. I'm going to turn to the right. I'm just flying the helicopter manually. Normally, once you're doing this, you pull up the gear. I'm just going to probably put it back down soon. So now I'm just doing normal flight, a little bit of right pedal to make it sort of a coordinated kind of turn, and head toward the runway part. And I want to go faster on the runway now. So there's the runway part. You could taxi to practice taxiing, but I'm just going to fly it out. And there's our boys down below. Fierce Wolf is there. Kiwi Craig. I thought I saw Charlie in the house somewhere. Are you around, Charlie? Or you're out
Here.
somewhere? You're out somewhere. He's already out and about. So here's what I'm recommending you guys. See all this grass area right in front of my nose? All this area here, we can do all our hover exercises there and on the tarmac. And I want you to go up and down the runway like this on the right side, over there, on the right side over here. Always keeping the runway to your left. All right, just to keep the flow proper. All right, so now this is why I like this view right here, you guys, because then I can see what's going on with my vertical speed. I can see what's going on with my forward speed. And what I want to do now is stay at this altitude, whatever it is, 1,000 feet, it feels like. And I want to stay pretty much heading down this way. I've got the nose down some more. I have no assists on, so I can't use beep trim. I can't use auto this, that, or the other. And I'm just flying the helicopter, keeping it steady, and trying to just get a feel for it. And this is your normal cruise kind of stuff. Now, as you can tell, you can see by the input viewer, I'm holding the cyclic way up here. I'm even switching hands so I can use my mouse. Whoops, there I see. It feels like I'm heading to the ground, and my radar altimeter says, yep, you are. So I'm just going to make sure I adjust for that. And now I'm going to turn, look into my turn to make sure somebody isn't there. And I'm going to turn around and fly around the runway and try to keep some altitude there. I'm just getting a feel for the helicopter. It's all we're doing right now is just getting a feel for it. Nothing too drastic. Little inputs here and there to adjust. And later on we can start using beep trim. Our second phase we'll start playing with the beep trim. And now I'm going to head down the right side of the runway again. I'm going to always head down on the right side of the runway, and that way we'll never clash. I mean, in the sim you go right through each other, but it's still not a nice feeling, you know. Seeing someone come at you and then it goes right through you is not normal, of course. So there I am, and now I'm at a lower altitude. I'm getting more confidence, so I can stay lower this time. And if you were to take a look closely at that, you can see that I'm probably around 100, I think. And that's a good mark to remember, because 100 things will happen when you're in auto modes. And that's what we're going to take a look at. So I know this is boring, you guys. It's like, yeah, you can do this with everything, Howard. Any helicopter, you can go and do this. But you got to get a feel for your controls that you have in your home cockpit, and then with this helicopter, because you got to know what it feels like when it's manual. And you also have to be able to take over when auto is doing something wrong, all right? And I'm going to turn around and go back now, and then I'm going to go and hover and put it back down. Should have looked first before I turned, yeah. Oh, that's pretty steep, isn't that nice? This thing can do it. I sure lost some altitude there too. Probably down to about 60 feet above the ground. But it's a sim. So whatever mistakes you make, you guys, don't beat yourself up. It's a sim. And I'm going to bring it over to the grass over here. All right, so I'm lowering my collective, normal stuff, you guys, bringing the nose up. I'm going to bleed off that airspeed. Bring the nose up. You're going to see in an automatic mode how it does all this for us, but we're not doing that yet. All right, and I'm going to stop it and pull up on some collective to make sure I'm not sinking too fast. There we go, 500 feet per minute, 100 feet per minute. Don't go backwards, don't go forwards. I'm still going forwards a little bit. Pulling back on the stick, making some adjustments. I'm going to try to bring it down gently. Here we'll have a look from the outside. Oh, maybe I'll even go over here to this piece of concrete, whatever that is. And put it down gently. I didn't bring gear up or down, I just left it down. There seems to be a lock on it, but I'll go take that off in a minute. All right, just get up there to the piece of concrete. Get up close. put her down gently. And that's really what it's about. Is if you can do it manually, now you'll know what's happening in the automatic modes. You'll know if it's doing it right. And I put the brakes on immediately, so I'm sitting there. So that's what I want you to do right now. I'm just going to take a second to watch you guys. So I'm going to go inside and put my brake on, just so I don't go moving. As you can tell, I could probably start creeping away, even in idle, all right? So I'm going to go take a look. Charlie, is it okay if I come to your screen?
Sure.
Take a look what's happening for you.
I'm
Right
just
here.
about to sit down right next to you.
So I saw you in the air go in the opposite direction on the run. So that worked out okay for you?
Yep.
And you've got all your automatic stuff is off right now? Cool.
Yep.
Look at you go. And if you guys remember,
Yeah.
Charlie was also a student in the sessions with Mike. Mike was my main student, and the spotlight focus was on my one student. Charlie was there doing all the same stuff all the time, even in the practices. When Mike was burning up the airport with a ton of hours of practice, Charlie was there burning up the airport too.
Yeah, I
So-
wasn't near as good as Mike.
Well, he
am not.
put in, I think he put in way more hours. I mean, anytime I ever
Oh,
went
yes.
there to see if any of you were practicing, guaranteed Mike was always there. And he would taxi around every taxiway you can think of for hours. You know, he was doing it all. I also see Fierce Wolf up ahead of you and me,
Oh yeah. He's
really
doing
bringing
okay.
it in nice and gently, putting it down. He can really handle this thing well. So now that we've done it manually, we want to just talk briefly about, I'm glad to see you're doing it, Charlie, because I know you're having trouble with that trim release, so I'm glad to see that's working for you. All right, let's come back to my screen for a second, you guys. I want to go to the classroom for a minute. I want to go and talk about what's going to happen next. Before I do that, I want to ask you if there are any questions. Because we've covered a lot already. We've gone quickly, like we do on a Tuesday when there's a ton of stuff to do. I want to make sure that we've covered everything before we move on. This is a picture of the real cockpit, you guys. Look at the glass in here. Look, the glass HSI, and look at the shape of the cyclic. I was going to say the collective. Look at the shape of the cyclic. That big gooseneck kind of thing is because when you pull it back, you want to be able to pull it back to your chest, just like with a yoke. And when you push it forward, you don't want to have to get out of your chair to push it forward. So they have this big, long gooseneck. Now, I have a small S extension on mine, on my Moses stick, a small S extension compared to this. And I got it on Etsy and it's got the DIN connectors too, and it brought that stick up higher. So I've got my AB6 mounted on the floor, and it's got this nice long throw on it like it is in a real helicopter. But look at that stick, the way it's canted more to your natural slant of your hand. And look at all the buttons on it. Every one of those buttons are for a reason, so you don't have to be reaching down and looking around and fumbling around. That's pretty cool. Anyway, I don't see any other questions from you guys, so I'm just going to move on and talk about, start turning on some advanced things. The very first thing we're going to take is the beep stuff, all right? So on section 14 pertains to the H-65, I'll just call it this version. The American version, if you want to call it that, because it's U.S. Coast Guard, you guys. And this version is what we're focusing on. We were in section 13 last week. This is in section 14. The specifics for this version, this 4-axis automatic function. All right, as you can see right here. So the AFCS functions is what we're talking about. So we'll need cyclic and collective beep trim mapped, all right, to make this happen. All right, so the building blocks, and they talk about the different layers and how it works. And there's the flight director system, the FDS 255, higher order guidance. That's our 4th axis. Now we have 4 axes to work with. That 4th axis mainly is collective stuff that we're going to be working with. So as we've shown you last week, except now it's a new enunciator panel here, a whole different one. We're going to see some of these light up depending on what we've picked. You can see right here, IAS, VS, Alt. Right up here, IAS, VS, Alt, in the same order. All right, and you look down here, HUV, OG, GA, IAS. Now that's not in the same order, but they're all here. There's HUV, OG, there's IAS, VS, and there's when you're in GA mode, which I have on my cyclic, then you'll see that light up also. Actually, I didn't see a GA button here in the center console, but it is on the collective, I think on the right side for real. But anyway, I have it in the T-pad, so we're going to use that. We're going to use the T-pad to do that function. So you'll see amber lights or green lights on here. All right, so the AFCS control panel, we already turned that off. Now we're turning it on, and we're also going to make sure all 4 paddles are up. They're like switches for each of the axes, and you can see they're labeled, each of the axes. And there's your 4 axis right there, you guys. And this is your coupling to make it all happen. It is on by default on startup. And then on your annunciator panel, you'll see that it is off. There's a warning on your big annunciator if it's not on, right? All right, so it does talk about it in here. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. Every time you see these kinds of 14.4 or other numbers like that, just keep in mind that these things are from the manual, because that's, every time you see this, I've taken a snapshot right from the manual. I've taken a snapshot right out of the sim to show you these pictures. I love the wear and tear on it, like you see on the old military vehicles, Now, let me talk about this, the horizontal situation video display. This whole section here is how to select what you want to have happen here. So I am going to show you, as I head out to sea, to show you some of the hover techniques over the water, I'm going to be using heading mode, where I use the heading bug. And as I use the heading bug, and I'm going to use my physical heading bug from my G1000 right here in my home cockpit. As I use the heading bug, just like when you do with fixed wing planes, as I move that heading bug over here, the helicopter will turn to follow it. All right, and then keep it same altitude. So that's cool. It's going to make it easier for me while I'm flying. I'm going to use beep trim to get my forward momentum at whatever speed I want, cruise speed. And then I'm going to use heading selector to change my heading to get out to where I want to go. Same with turning around and going back. So I'm going to use 2 functions now that help with this automatic, and that is, one of them is I'm going to use beep trim to set my attitude, to get my speed going, and then I'm also going to use heading mode. All right, so we want to see that in action. So there's your normal ones. We had these on the one last week, and some of those didn't work, and I ended up re-recording those demos and adding them to my YouTube video. So that's already in there now. And these are ones we all expect. We expect to see these in all aircraft. Here's our newest stuff right here. And our newest stuff here, let's see what those are. ISVS, it says to climb at a specific airspeed, but it's also used to automatically go into THUV when it gets there, when you're descending. So we're going to see that kind of hook happen also. It's a airspeed hold and vertical speed hold. So if I have my vertical speed descending at 500 feet per minute, it's normally level, but now it's at 500 feet per minute. And I'm also got my airspeed all the way around to, let's say, 110. And I go into ISVS mode, it's going to lock in both of those, and the attitude that my helicopter's in right now, it's going to lock those in. I'm going to keep on descending at 500 feet per minute. I'm going to keep on going at that exact speed. That's what it's intended for. But the fact that, is one of those, just wait, there's more. But the fact that you're descending down to the surface, which could be catastrophic once you get there, what it will do is, as it gets past 100, this is specific to IAS, and I'll bring up a screen that talks about it, but when you get past 100 feet above the deck, it's going to automatically go into THUV, which is transition to hover. This is one of the coolest features. So really on here, there's only 3 that I want to show you, and that's HUV, OG, THUV, and ISVS. All right, well, that's what we're going to focus on, show you those. So turn back on AFCS so that it's like it was when we first started the sim, and we're going to now practice cyclic beep trim. This is phase 2, and we're just going to try beep trim and see what it's all about. So go back in, turn these both on, and away we go. There we go. All right, back inside. Are you guys hearing any sim stuff? Probably not. Oh, there it is. I didn't have it on. Should be louder when we go outside too. There we go. Is that too loud for you guys? I can hear it in my headset. It's not that loud in my headset. And I'm not even putting on a headset because I'm not talking to anybody right now. So my parking brake's still on. Now I want to go back over here. I'm just using the side view now. Turn that one back on, turn that one back on. Now it's the normal stuff. Turn off my parking brake. Now you don't have to turn it off if you're going straight up and straight down and you never want to roll. Let's say you're landing on the deck of a boat. I don't want it to roll. I got my toe brakes on to make sure it doesn't roll because I don't have much room. I'll just use parking brake. I'm going to land and stay there, right? So that's cool. But I do want to take this off because I want to bring up my gear now when I take off. You know, it's more streamlined and all the rest of it, right? All right, so we've got AFCS is back on the AFCS panel, and now I'm ready to rock and roll. Back to a normal view, lift off, and away we go. Beep trim's going to work now, so pull back on my stick, up I go. And now I'm going to stay around the airport for now because I'm going to head back down. Now, what I'm going to do now, watch the trim X up there on the input viewer. So I'm just going to push beep trim and hold it. Look at the X starting to move. Look at the nose falling. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to turn to the right. I'm going to now do trim release and do manual. Here's normal manual, trim release. So I'm holding the trim release on the cyclic at the back of my cyclic. I'm moving left and right. I'm moving my nose down. I'm moving my nose up. So the trim release lets me go manual anytime I need to adjust. Now that I've got it to here, I'm going to let go of the trim release, and now I'm going to use beep trim. So I'm going to use beep trim down, down, down. I'm holding it, holding it, holding it until it's like that. To make sure I don't descend to the ground, I'm giving it a little more collective. And take a look at the trim. That little X now is above my cyclic. I can even let go of the cyclic. And I have no hands right now, and it's still keeping that attitude. And that attitude is actually building up the speed. You can see I'm doing a really nice cruise here. A little too low to the ground. And it's getting lower. There's 100, so I'm just going to give it some more collective so that I don't go any lower than 100 feet off the deck. Now I'm going to do trim release and turn it around. I'm actually, whoops, there, I'm going to show you why that happened, you guys. I did my trim release without thinking about it. I should have matched what the helicopter was doing. That wasn't intentional, but we'll use it as a learning tool. All right, I'm going to turn around now. I got trim release now on, and I'm turning around and going the other direction. I'm going to stay near the airport for the moment. Stay on the right side of the runway so I'm not in the way of anybody else. So let me just mention this. Okay, I'm going to get back to it so I'm not running over anybody. Back to somewhere around the right side of the runway. Let go of my trim release. Now, use beep trim again. Beep trim, I'm holding it till I get the speed again. Now, look where my X is. The X is way up there. So if I want to do trim release now, I'm going to give it some more collective so I don't hit the ground. If I want to do trim release now, it's going to jump because the difference between where my cyclic is and where the attitude is set is drastic, and that's why it jumped. So now I'm going to match it, release it, and bring it up. Actually, I was getting too close to the trees. Let's do it a little higher this time. Bring my nose down. I've got trim release on while I'm doing it manually. Now I've got maybe 1,000 feet instead of 100. I'm going to let go of my trim release. Now I'm going to use beep trim. There's my beep trim like that. I've got my speed up. Look at the difference between my cyclic. I've let go now. It went back to spring center. So now I've got this huge gap between where it's trimmed and where my cyclic is. So I'm going to push my cyclic down to match it. When it matches the X, I can hit trim release right there. And I saw no difference. And now I'm pulling back and letting go some collective. So you want it to be a smoother release. Match the cyclic to the X. Use that input viewer for now. Use all the tools we can to make this happen, right? Hi Mike, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming. Hope work was okay today, and I hope you're not in a hot environment like some of us. You know what I mean? So Mike knows all this stuff, you guys. So I let go of my trim release now, and I'm going to use beep trim to head out to sea. So I'm just going to trim release, turn to the right, and just head out to sea. And we're going to do something out in the water. Just like that. Now, I could use beep trim all the way, so let's try that. You saw me do this last week. I used beep trim to go to the right, so I'm going to do that now. I'm just holding it to the right, the beep trim, and it's just going to circle. And I'm going to let go now. And there it is. It's still cruising, it's keeping my speed, and it's turning. And now if I want it to stop turning, I'm surprised the X doesn't move to the right or left though. If I want to stop turning, I'm going to move my cyclic to the right and forward and then release. And there, it was a pretty smooth release. Do you see? I mean, you didn't see anything because it was pretty smooth. Hey, there's Andrew in the air. How you doing, man? I'm looking up to see Andrew's screen, but I don't see what you're doing. You're inside somewhere. So I'm heading out to the water, and I don't know if there's any boats out here, but we're just going to practice hovering over the water. And now I'm going to just let go of my trim, release, and make sure that my beep trim is there. So it's all beep trim right now, you guys, and we're going to start using some of these functions. Matter of fact, while we're doing this right now, I could go into heading select, turn that on, and then now use my heading selector down here. Let's see where it is. Yeah, it's trying to turn to the left because it's way over. You notice right here? Oh, I better pull up on some collective here. Yeah, that was a heck of a drop. I'm going to take some evasive action, you guys, because I was getting closer to the trees. So I didn't set that right. I didn't even look at my vertical speed, and now I'm going to correct everything. Well, I was about to do heading select. I wasn't even looking at my vertical speed, and I was heading further down. So I'm going to do it like that. Heading toward the water again. I've got collective in. It's still vertical speed, still a little less than even. So let's see if I can bump that up. I'm going to hold cyclic trim release and bring it up. There we go. That's better. Now I'm at least even. Okay, so I had to fine tune it, guys, or else I would have been in trouble, right? What's beef trim? Oh, beef trim. That's where you take a big sharp knife and you just shave off what you need. You know, almost like a gyro, they say in New York, or in the proper name is an gyros on a pita. They shave it off, right? That's beef trim. On a serious note, it was beep trim. Probably said it too fast. So I'm heading out to sea, and I said I would use nav over here. Actually, I should move my input viewer over so they're not on top of each other. I'm using nav. I'm using heading select. My heading select bug is right here. Matter of fact, let me use glass out. Just give me a second here, you guys. I'll give you a bigger view of that. Is that glass out? Thought I had it running. It's not what I want. Glass out. Where is it? Right here. There's glass out. Meanwhile, we're tooling right along. I'm going to use glass out to just pop out one of my panels here. Let's go to discovery. And during discovery, just to show you what I'm doing here, for discovery I'm going to pop out maybe this guy. Open that. There we go. Now you can see this. I'm going to put this in this corner. All right, then it's nice and big. All right, so I'm going to use the heading dial. That's actually on my hardware, and I'm going to move the bug. You can see over here, move the bug wherever I want, and you can see it's going to follow that. All right, so that's handy too. So I've got two automation things going on here. I'm using beep trim to get almost at the never exceed. Look at this. I'm going pretty fast. I'm going to use it now to go the other direction. You can see up here I'm using my heading dial to go that way. And it's just going to work its way around nice and gentle. You don't want it to jerk you around and spin you around. It'll get back to center like that. And now it's just, it's all hands-free. And you can see up here my input viewer showing you that my trim says I've got a nose down forward attitude. If you look outside, you'll notice that it's actually hard to tell, but the nose is down and I'm cruising and I'm turning. You can see the turn. If I can hold that tops, there we go. That's a nice view too. and it now is leveling off as it gets to the bug, and now it's going straight from there. So look how close we are to the water. So let's go back to, now you see how I'm doing that with this. I'm going to close that one, go back inside, and you can see here I'm climbing very steadily above 2,000 feet. Now let's do something interesting from here. I mean, there's always something interesting more to do with this helicopter, I'll tell you. So I'm going to actually use, on my collective, right here, on my collective, I'm going to use collective trim. I'm going to call it collective trim, trim release in the middle, and lower my collective and watch my vertical speed. So I'm going to push the center of it, lower my collective physically, watch my speed start to drop. I'm going to take it to about 500 and then let go of the trim. So it's exactly what I did with the cyclic, only now I'm doing it with the collective. So I'm using C-sync and I'm pushing that middle button, and I'll show you again what that looks like on the diagram right here. So this diagram here, I'm pushing this center button right here, which is C-sync, press release. It's actually two settings, but it's on the same button right there. And then I'm lowering the collective, so now I'm doing 500 feet per minute toward the surface. Now what I'm going to do is do an advanced function. I am actually going to use ISVS. As soon as I hit it, it's going to match the speed and my descent. And when I get to 100 feet right here, it's going to level off and hover, and then take me down gently to 50. Is that cool or what? So it's in action right now. If you look down here on the annunciator, let's see if we can get in on that. It's a really cool feature. You look at the annunciator down here, it shows you in green what the status is, IASVS. It's matching both of those, but it's also putting this on deck. This is T-hov. This is transition to hover. Should be a bump right there. Yep, there's the bump. Gonna slow me right down now. Let it work it. While that's happening, let's go, this time, let's go turn on the hoist on pilot. Okay, the hoist will work. All right, it's settling in. That was pretty drastic, but that's how it does it to get stopped. Wheels down, wheels up, doesn't matter. Look how stable that's becoming. Now keep in mind, I might have to do some corrections. I see already it's turning a bit to the left. I'm going to give it a little bit of right rudder. I'm going to give it a little bit of right pedal. I closed it, but I'll bring it back open. All right, a little bit of right pedal just to compensate for that. Let's get things out and get them working. All right, we're on T-hov, looking good. It's working as it should. And now we'll go to autopilot. Sorry, we'll go to doors and hoists. Let's open that back door. So let's get this positioned so we see what's going on. It's quite a headwind we've got going there. I'm pretty much aligned with it. Back inside, open the door. There we go. And let's get the hoist ready. Different noise when we're inside. That's kind of interesting. Pretty steady. All right, let's go to the next stage as soon as it's stable enough. We've got hoist power on, so that's a good thing. There we go. It says start hoisting. There's our hoist guy. All right. And oh, he was out there. Is he still out there? Yeah, he's still out there. There we go. Start hoisting. I know we got power on this time. There we go. Down he goes. See if we can follow that somehow. There we go. And we're nice and steady. Let's see what altitude we're at too. We are at 50 feet, under 50 feet, 48, something like that. Now, this hasn't extended all the way. 97, come on, you can do it. I might have to bump it up a bit and bring it back down. It should go to 100%, so I'm not all the way out. It's not going to do much if it's not all the way out. 97%, okay. Maybe I can bump it up a couple of feet here. I could do it manually. C-sync, pull up on the collective. There we go. Let go. That'll bring us up a few more feet. You can see that. And maybe that'll give us our 100%. 97. You can do it. As we go a little higher. Yeah, I'm having troubles. So 50 feet, it won't even hoist unless it's under 50. And I can't get to 100%, so I can't pick up a person. Huh. And that looked pretty easy. Bring it up another few more feet. You notice it turned to the left when I did that? It's a little drastic, isn't it? There we go. And there, we're at 100. Yay. A little bit high too, so let's go have a look here. Down there at the bottom. And fully extended at 100 feet. And now, oops. It really is really close, isn't it? Let's see if I can get back around where we should be. There we go. All right. So he's all the way down there. Should be at, we're at 77 feet. Let's see if we can extend it down now that it's at 100%. So I think that you know, the criteria here, you want 100% line out, and then you want to bring it down to 50. So I'm going to bring it down to 50 now. Like that. Nice slow decline like that. Maybe a little slower too. There we go. And as it gets past 75, heads toward 50, it'll pick up. There's 50 there. T-hub should keep us around 50. And it should level off at that point. There we go. Alright, so that's the way it's supposed to work. Doesn't look like we've picked anybody up though. Maybe there's nobody here. Alright, so it's time to go retrieve. There we go. And raise the hoist, it says. There we go, it's starting to come up. And there's the poor sod right there. Yeah, I'm really rocking and rolling here. The wind's really picking up. It's doing corrections itself. I'm not paying attention to flying. All right, so rescue secured. And we'll board. And then we'll close the door. All right, what am I missing? Oh, right here. And then it says land. Good. And then now we'll go to, that was a little sloppy, but that's my third attempt. And look how rocking and rolling we are. It's a good thing we got out of there. Now we'll go back to autopilot. We'll go into GA. And when we go to GA, let's see what happens. Kind of a drastic thing there from whatever mode it was in. And let's take a look at what's going to happen here. I'm going to leave it in heading select afterwards. So it's picking up speed. It put the nose down. It picked up speed. It's going to make sure we don't crash. It looks bad, but it won't. It'll work out okay. And as soon as it gets up to 100 feet, then we'll start to see a rise here. We already had it set for rising, but it's rising even more now. It'll stay around 700. And 700 feet per minute, and away it goes. And now I'll go up and start steering it properly, but you can see it's got some wind correction going in there. Wow. And so let's go up here and let's put some heading select in there and turn this baby around back opposite of what we were facing. Now to make that easier to see, you notice it's still on the hover mode there. So while it's turning around, let's go down here and change this back to HSI maybe, right there and there. And that'll give us the map. I've got some jitters going on here that I never had before. That gives us a normal map here so we can see where we're going. There's my heading bug. It'll now correct back to the heading bug. Looks like it overshot it. Should still be on heading mode. Yep. Heading select. Yep. And I do see land, so let's turn a little more to the left. And it should turn a bit to the left. And away we go. So that's the rescue done, and we've got the person sitting in the back. He's trying to think about what happened, what went wrong. And it's a rescue. And it was a sloppy rescue, but it was a rescue. All right, so that's just to show you how it can be done. Let's head back a little more toward land. I'm going to do some more to the left. Again, you can gee whiz, every time I try to use the mouse it jumps. But anyway, I turn the heading bug to here, and now it's going to align with that. So that's some more of the autopilot functions. Heading back inland toward where we're headed. And we could cap it too. We could just go with whatever altitude we're at right now and try to hold that. Looks like it's taking. But that gives you an idea how it works. In we go. Take it home. I've had my gear down the whole time, and I don't mind when I'm flying low like this. If I have to put it down soon, then could even put it down on the beach. Anyway, you get the idea how that works. That's the demo. So let's just come back here and just see what we've done, you guys. The Advanced Assisted Operations, IAS mode, it automatically turned on THUV. When it got down to 100, probably in here somewhere it tells you that when it descends to 100, it automatically goes into THUV, and then it settles in at 50 feet. And that's what it did for me, and it was rock solid. It was great. And then you can use the FD slew coolie hat to adjust THUV and IAS hold speed reference, which is what I was trying to do. That one I didn't get it down to 25 feet, so I'll go play with that again. And you know, this is 2 weeks of working with this helicopter, you guys, and I still have to go back and practice some more things. And I think that speaks to the depth of this helicopter and the fact that there's been some updates today. Some of these things I need to go and make sure I can do them before I turn things into YouTube videos and stuff, right? And that's the practice we need to do. There's THUV. I was doing it over the grass first. The first time I tested it, worked really well. And then today I did it over the water twice now. And the other one was the go-around I mentioned, you guys. And you notice in here, while you're in the go-around function, you notice that the green one is where the helicopter attitude is set. The collective is set. And my red one is where my collective is. So again, to release this, or to match it before you release it, bring your collective up so that the red arrow is inside the green arrow. And then do the release, and it won't be a big bump. Okay, just the same thing again when we did the cyclic. Make sure you match the trim and then release, and away you go. All right, each time you're going to see that's pretty cool. And there I'm showing that. Yeah, I forgot that I put that in there now, but there we go. Okay, so recommended engagement flow. If you look at 14.4.1, before they finish that chapter, Tog puts in there, verify all 4 AFCS bat handles are forward on. So this is recommended for you to make sure things are going to work. You make sure all 4 of these are on. You make sure the lights are on there. All right, and then that's the default, but it could be that they're off now. You want to make sure they're okay. And then the normal functions, I was just doing a heading select just to steer, but the normal functions you would expect. This helicopter can do an ILS capture all the way into the runway, just like normal, and that's cool. And then I was just showing you a couple of the advanced functions, which is part of the 4-axis feature of this one. Practical tips, best setup for stable cruise. 14.6.2 talks about when things don't behave as expected. And I've been in here a few times already figuring out this thing. All right, and this has been very, very rewarding to go and do all of this. So what we covered today was mainly hands-on. We got a little bit of theory. We got an idea where we're headed. I talked about 3 phases, you guys. The first phase was manual fly. Turn off all that AFCF stuff and just fly the helicopter and get used to that with the controls that you have. Second phase was turn those things back on again and now do the beep trim and go up and down the runway using beep trim. And then the third thing was, let's go full auto, head out to sea and go do a hover. So we did IIS VS was the button we pushed, and that automatically took us down. It kept our vertical speed and it kept our forward speed all the way down to 100 feet. Then it went automatically into T-HUV and stayed there and settled in at 50 feet so that you can do your rescue. Now that rescue interface is brand new to me just before the stream, so I tried it once and it worked easily, so I thought, don't need to practice that again. And then of course on the stream it showed that I do need to practice it some more to get the hang of it. So I have done a rescue hoist where it went down and stayed floating on the water, and then I rescued it back up and there was a person in the cage. So it was like fishing, and we found a body and he was alive, so it was good. I just couldn't recreate it for you guys. This was it, you guys, the Tuesday lesson, and we're running out of time. Let me just open it up for discussion from co-hosts, from Charlie, who's been out there flogging it and making it work. Andrew's been out there flying also, and Fierce Wolf's been out there. So fantastic. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. And
It's quite a helicopter.
it's an amazing product, you guys. And I'm still challenged by it, and I love it. So the next week we're going to be jumping into playing with it in the different modes, or the different types of career kind of things you can do. So next week will be career mode, mission hub. I'm just going to touch on each one, or I'm going to record ahead of time some videos of each one so we can scrub ahead to see what they look like with this helicopter. And this is career mode compatible, you guys, in quite a few different kinds of missions. There's a product called Emergency Dispatch Pro, and I'm going to show you also a Say Intention Skyhops. And now we can actually lower the hoist and bring it back up even in the Skyhops one, which is really cool.